I am. I know I am. I'm always doing a fabulous job.
You are always doing a fabulous job. Here on Tea Time.
Tea Time!
We're spilling some tea. We've been spilling some juicy tea about a really exciting educational project that my friend is doing.
Yes, I forgot.
And it was fabulous. I don't care what anyone says. It wasn't really queer content, but it was great. And it does...
it's content. I wasn't really paying attention.
I don't care. It's content. It bodes well for queer youth in the education system because it's so customizable. Anyway, the point is, it's a good thing, and we can make it queer if we want to.
We can make everything gay.
Anything
can be gay.
Just put a rainbow on it.
I have a rule. If you want something, just look for the rainbow version. It's out there. Always.
You can always make it gay.
I've got rainbow strings for my guitar.
Oh.
Where did you find rainbow strings for your guitar?
Just if you want it rainbow, just look. It'll be there.
Yeah.
Or paint it yourself.
Or be the change you want to see in the world. Sometimes if you want to see something, you have to make it.
You have to be the something.
Who said that? I saw that recently.
You have to be the something.
Sometimes you have to make the thing that you want to see in the world. Anyway, so before we start nattering away, or as my Scottish mother would say, whittering. Yeah, whittering. Yeah, bletherer. Yeah, blethering. Anyway, I love that word. Who are you? No, hello everybody. We've got Lillian-Paige Turner here with us, fabulous new presenter here at IPL. And have you started?
Started?
Yeah.
I mean, stuff.
Stuff?
I do stuff. I mean...
Do you press the buttons?
No.
No, why?
I've just been...
Is it scary?
Yeah,
it's
too scary.
It's fine.
I've just been on a few shows so far. And
cool.
Then wanted me to come in more. And
is this your favourite so far?
Yeah.
So far, it is.
It's the best vibes.
Thank you.
We have food. That's why we're the best.
We have cheesecake.
We have cheesecake. We have
apple juice. Do you have
any
idea how much trouble we're going to get in for this?
For cheesecake?
For cheesecake.
Why? We are being... homie, we are being nice to guests.
We're using forks, so
we are giving guests food. We are,
which we
are here providing for our guests, making them feel better about themselves.
Lillian-Paige Turner. Hi, I'm Ali. This is Georgia.
Hi.
Hi, Georgia.
Hi.
We do tea time.
We do tea time.
So welcome to tea time.
Welcome to tea time.
Do you have any tea to spill?
Oh, actually, tea for tea. The tea for tea for tea? I think I said that right.
I didn't understand it, but say it anyways.
Yes, the tea on tea for tea. Yes. Okay. I can do that. So I am doing a research project currently. I'm studying psychology. Honours at the moment, so...
Sorry, it's just I have bad experiences with psychology students. I've found, after going to at least 1, 2, 3 house parties of mainland psychology students, that they are all self-confessed desperate need of psychologists themselves. And some of them even went so far as to say that they... And I thought this was very insightful of them and quite honest and open. The kind of honesty you only get from 4 shots of tequila... that they're only studying it to get free therapy.
It's not that free, I have to say, but it's very good.
Well, that's true. No, ever since who was that wonderful Prime Minister of ours that implemented free tertiary education? Who was that?
Oh,
the guy. Whitlam. Yes, Whitlam. Yeah. We don't have him anymore, so it's a very expensive way to do it.
Yeah, pretty brutal, especially since before, because I have previous education, studied games programming.
Oh no, that's even more competitive.
So actually less. I mean, when you're working, but studying, less competitive.
Oh, okay, good.
Working, more competitive. But I did make games for a while, and I even started my maths. No, there's just shitty iPhone games that I was working for a company, and they designed them, and they didn't have great ideas. And I was very young, and I don't know if I was a great programmer, so I'm not going to say I'm good or anything. I was actually pretty shit.
Cutting your teeth. We do have a tinkle jar on this show.
Yeah,
I
mentioned.
Did I swear?
A little bit, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
That is something
I did not notice. I didn't pay attention. You gotta say tinkle
she never
now.
does. She's the reason for the tinkle jar.
I'm the reason for the tinkle jar. I've gotten better. I've gotten much better. Okay. See, first half I didn't even say a thing. I didn't swear because I didn't talk. I was here.
We're gonna get on great.
I don't know the viewers knew, but I was here.
Excellent. No, and what I love about this is we kind of give ourselves a bit of a limit. We say, okay, Georgia, or us, everyone, but mostly Georgia.
How dare you?
There is a limit to what we can get away with.
3.
And the fact that you've just used up 2 of them.
Was it
2?
That means that she doesn't have any room to wiggle.
I have 1.
There's no wiggling for you. There's no wriggles.
Well, who knows? You might use my last one.
I might. It's been known to happen. We all do it, and that's why there's a jar.
Okay. I'm going to take a sip of wiggles.
Great.
Tinkle.
So, you weren't the best program in the world, maybe, but you were cutting your teeth on some naive, fresh-faced projects, for some idiot conglomeracy.
Basically.
Awesome. Yeah. And you've do you do that as a kind of a side project now? Is it just a little passion?
I hate computers now. And the worst thing is everyone expects me to know what I'm doing with computers, which I hate because I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I worked in IT in help desk as well for 3-4 years.
Oh, that's going to build you up.
No, I hate IT. Don't let me near a computer. I'll break it.
The feeling of ruining something for yourself that you love is so relatable. I don't know if that's just a queer thing.
I think it's an overthinker type. I don't know if it's because anxiety ruins me.
Do you love anxiety?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
Only sometimes because I get excuses for
sometimes.
things. I also do.
Yeah. Because I liked the person I was when I was depressed. I was super into poetry. I didn't write it. I just read a lot.
You miss being emo.
I miss the well of emotions that I could harness and access. You know what I mean? Like I would when I was terribly depressed. I spoke in lyrics. You know what I mean? Like there were aspects of my personality that I really miss that I don't have access to anymore. Because of medication.
Easy fix. Get depressed again.
Hey, Lillian-Paige Turner, are you medicated?
Yes.
How do you like that? How do you find it?
Yeah,
what are we talking about?
I'm not on... So I'm on dexamphetamines.
Okay, cool. Congratulations. It's a process, and it's a hard thing to get through, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it either takes a long time, or it's very expensive, or both. Yeah. I'm on the expensive route, because I couldn't wait. And I know other people have been on the can't put a third of their wage into mental health care, so they have to do the 4-year wait times for a public psychiatrist. Blah 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 blah. How did you go?
Mine was fine.
Don't put that away.
So back before I transitioned, I was actually waiting for to see my specialist, and they had a huge wait time. So I'm like, oh, fuck this. Sorry. Third one. Sorry. Tinkle. I'm sorry.
You used my last one.
What can I say? I'm greedy.
I'm done for tonight. I'm turning off my mic. I'm leaving the room. I'm done with tea time for tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We're going to another song. We're finished.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Georgia for the evening. She's out.
No, so I'm like, I can't wait any longer because mature age when I was 37 when I started transitioning. Mm-hmm. So I went and saw a site to get make sure I had any potential paperwork that I might need. Mm. And then when it came to it, I didn't need as much paperwork as I got. But when I was seeing my psych, I'm like, can you also give me Dexies? I've got ADHD. I was diagnosed actually much, much younger back when I was studying something. I've studied a few things, a few different lifetimes.
Oh, the eternal student.
Probably.
Yeah, that's the ADHD.
Yeah, so, and because I already knew dexamphetamines worked fine, I have no real negative downsides for it.
That's great.
Then there was my
Did
doctor was
warn
quite
you?
happy to keep me on it.
Did they warn you of possible downsides? Like,
a little bit, but not much.
You know, you might change.
My psych kind of trusted me at this point. We'd been through a lot because I'd gone through one that was very thorough when it came to my gender dysphoria and transitioning. And so they had gone through and sussed out everything already. So they kind of already realised, and I'd already talked about it, I'd been on it. And so we had and I'm a psych student, so they just kind of like, okay.
You know what you're saying. Yeah, so. The language is good.
yeah.
Sure.
I think she might have said a few things, but that's about it.
Well, there's a danger there because a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And as soon as I've known a stupid amount of med students in my life, and they're all idiots. Like, brilliant, right? But useless. You know what I mean? Like, you must have met these people. They're so smart and just useless. Yeah. And so these med students, it's in their second year. And as soon as they start knowing too much, they start self-diagnosing, start diagnosing other people. And I've heard the same thing can happen in the psych world, right?
Most definitely.
Did you find it? Like, could you catch yourself doing it? Like, oh, hi, Mum, how are you? Oh, no. Like, you've got to think.
I do it a lot still, like, but I think, I did a few times irresponsibly, I think. In that, not like I never caused any harm to anyone or anything like that, but there was a few times when I probably got a bit carried away with some early first year knowledge.
Right.
But I've had a lot of experience because I don't just study it now. I volunteer with mental health, so I've got quite a reasonable breadth of experience in mental health now. For someone who's not a registered psychologist.
A layman. Yeah. Is that the term, I think?
Yeah, but I'd say...
But that's the thing. There is a tipping point.
Above that, so.
Yeah, exactly. There's a point at which you do know enough.
Yeah.
You have read enough. You've got experience. You do know enough to be able to quite legitimately give advice. And diagnose is a tricky word, right? Yeah. Because technically it is a technical term, and you're not allowed to do things like that. But you can offer suggestions and say, hey, maybe get a second opinion on this, and we always encourage people to find a mental health professional that suits them.
Yeah.
Which can take, it's trial and error, right? You're not going to get along with everybody. But yeah, if someone with knowledge and training says to you, hey, you might be exhibiting symptoms of XYZ, go get yourself looked at, right? Examined. And that's not a dirty thing it's not a dirty word.
Not
right?
at all.
No. How do they teach that kind of initial interaction nowadays? What's the approach?
I guess I haven't done a lot of training in that regard. A lot of it still at a stage as an undergrad where they've we don't really have enough to properly diagnose people or anything like that. So they don't. So they tell you not to diagnose and to be very careful. We do have classes on learning how to. It's hard because you take what you know into every conversation.
Yeah.
And it's hard when I'm talking to someone who's going through things. So the way I think about it is I've never, with the exceptions of some few first year mistakes, I've never really tried to diagnose anyone, and more of it is just trying to listen and help someone who needs it, who's close to me, but then trying to make sure I step back before the line where it kind of becomes a therapeutic relationship.
Yeah, doing enough to do what you know you can without crossing a line.
Yeah.
That's got to be tricky, and a trial by fire, I imagine. I mean, as you say, you make mistakes.
Yeah.
Have you, reconciled those early errors?
Yeah. They're fine. It helped that I was right. Like
that does help. That always helps. Yes,
but it was steps that I maybe should not have made. If that makes sense.
Did you have support? I mean, did you go to, say, your tutors or mentor to deal with that? How did that work?
Talked to some my own psychs about it, who are
they would have gone through it, I suppose.
Yeah, and they used to do it because I deal with I have a university psychologist that I see, and they're used to dealing with students, and especially psych students, because we're all messed up.
Yes. As much as we all are messed up, psych students, I believe, are a particular breed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't ever trust a psych student that didn't have their own psychologist.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Would you trust a fitness instructor that didn't have a trainer? I mean, no, okay, I don't know if that's a proper analogy, but yes, absolutely. It's a thing. Doctors understand that people need doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few things that happen why a lot of psychologists are all messed up from the start. I think, for a start, it requires someone who is very self-reflective to get into this practice, to deal with other people, to carry all that. And there's got to be a curiosity and an interest in getting in depth in both yourself and the other person. And I think to do that, it's just very well suited to people who have experienced mental health issues.
Yeah.
Because
empathy is the key, right?
Yeah. And just going through healing yourself is a process, that introspection and that learning, and then learning how to... But I also think that because we're already introspective, we'll find the demons that are there. Like, people go around their whole life with these little demons that they've never faced, but you can't not face them if you're a psychologist.
Is that because it's necessary to be a well-rounded, centered, healed individual in order to give that help to others, or is it because you can't help but see something that you're trained to see?
I think there's both.
Okay.
There's both.
So there's a willingness as well as a kind of unavoidable side effect there.
Yeah.
Which one do you think you noticed in yourself first? Were you self-aware, or were you aware of your empathy for others more?
Got a lot of childhood trauma, which means that I've always been overly empathetic to other people's needs over my own. So I can over-prioritize other people's. Understanding other people's emotional states is a defense mechanism. So
that's interesting.
So for me, I think a lot of it came from that.
Yeah.
And then also, and I spent a lot of time navel gazing. So,
I mean, it's interesting to me because looking at other people's stuff and then concentrating on, you can even fall into the trap of becoming a fixer. And it's a great way to distract yourself from your own stuff, because you're dealing with someone else's, and it can make you feel accomplished, and it can make you feel helpful and good about yourself. You're doing something good, and all the while you can be totally ignoring the things that are eating you up inside, and you will become a hollow person by giving too much.
I used to be a lot more of a fixer and a rescuer. That was my normal go-to move, and it's only through my studies and training and understanding that I've managed to become a more balanced individual and try and avoid that. But even so, there are times when my life is messed up and I like just going to work or volunteer, really, and dealing with other people's stuff. And then there is something about getting deep into somebody else's life and unconscious and what's going on. And I think part of it is because people are a puzzle to me. And so trying to break down, explore, really get in, trying to understand what they're feeling, and that process can distract me a little bit. There has been once or twice where I've had particularly a lot going on, and then will be dealing with people quite well, doing my job well, great, and then there'll be someone who come and hits a particular nerve for me.
Oh.
And then I only afterwards realised, I lost control of that situation a little bit. Never really badly, not, but
because it brought to the surface emotions that you prioritized over them, or how do you mean you lost control?
I'm trying to think of how I can put it without talking about the situation.
Would mime help?
Was that?
Would mime help?
Mime?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, the big thing is it brought up my own child. They were going through stuff that I had gone through and thought I dealt with when I was young. Not one-on-one, but there were certainly some triggers there that I didn't kind of realise I still had as vulnerable. And in a different situation, if I wasn't so stressed out otherwise, I probably could have acknowledged it and helped them properly.
Yeah.
But because I was also really stressed and I was there trying to help them, it did hit home in a particular way, and I was really trying to protect them in a way that was unhelpful to them, because I was trying to protect myself for that time probably too.
Yeah.
Does that...
No, I think that does make sense. At least it makes sense to me. I find it relatable. Yeah. I think I've been in a similar situation where, in trying to be empathetic and help someone else, I was offering that person a thing that, core memory, core belief, I didn't feel worthy of receiving. And so there was this strange conflict, of giving something I didn't deserve to have. And it was a weird little ball of emotion that came up, and it's I'm actually not capable of this right now. I'm sorry. I'll go and work this out, and I'll come back when I can focus on you, and a more appropriate time. Yeah, it's funny the things you can...
That's how I transitioned, kind of. That was one of the triggers. I was helping somebody, I won't say names, but they would come to me with some gender dysphoria, and I spoke to them.
Can we come up with a fantabulous name for them instead?
Roberta?
Love it.
Roberta. Okay, so Roberta came to me, and then they were telling me about, and I was out as gender fluid at the time, and that was, from the way I reconcile it now, it was mostly a way I could be my authentic self in certain safe environments, but the rest of the time, when I'm dealing with the world at large, I could hide behind my masculine mask.
What kind of were you working at the time? What sort of age is this? What
was I doing at the time?
Late teens, early 20s?
Oh yeah, I was working at the time. This was, so I was out as gender fluid for probably about 20 when I was 27. So about 13 years ago.
Cool. I'm sorry. What? Georgia.
I'm doing the math here. Are you 40? You're so young.
Yeah.
You're 40. Far out.
I want to use the last tinkle.
She already used the last tinkle.
I know.
I almost used a negative tinkle, but...
All right, I'm going to distract her. And you rummage through her bag and find out what toner she's using.
Actually, out of the moment, it's horrible. My skin is feeling so horrible.
Do you want me to lower the mics just so we can really quickly use a tinkle?
My skin's so terrible. Oh, my God. Anyway, no.
Oh, my God. I look like 27 already. Oh,
so I was out as gender fluid when I was 27.
Yep.
And that was enough for a while. And then I guess... there was a few things that happened. I could go through all the things, but one of the things that was happening for me at the time is I had a friend that had, and this was when I was about 37, or actually 36, probably just before I had come out. And I started giving them advice and realised it was not advice for them, it was advice for me. And so I'm like, okay, this is a step I need to do then,
Guilty.
obviously.
Yeah.
That was...
That's amazing. So, I mean, Does that friend now take credit for your happiness?
I don't think they do as much as they should.
Oh, really?
No, there's other factors, but they're a very important person to me, so we better.
Do you think it's common for like such a momentous trajectory towards the truth happens by accident? Well, I mean, I'm assuming that you have like contact within the community and that you're engaged in like the whole community, but I mean, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why I'm assuming this. Like,
you're engaged with
you guys
me.
All just flock togetger and get together and say, "Yay, transitioned." You know what I mean? Like, and you probably don't because you're normal people, and you don't. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a blue collar gay.
Yeah.
And
What does a blue collar gay mean? I've heard you say it a couple times, but I've never really asked because I don't think I am. It doesn't apply to me, of course. Doubt it would.
There are so many things that don't apply to you because
So
you're a
many.
unique flower and or butterfly.
And a butterfly.
Yeah, I'm not a flag waver. I to my shame and maybe detriment, I've not marched for the rights and causes of my own people. It's not who I am. I try not to apologise for it at the same time as feeling like I should. So what I mean is, I don't know your involvement in the community or how much access you have to other people who have transitioned or whether you care, you know what I mean? But so I'm asking you this question, like, do you know the history of all transsexual people? Do you know all of them? It's ridiculous.
All of them. We've just got a group chat.
Group chat. Yeah. It's on WeChat.
I have. It's weird. In some ways, I'm quite connected to the community. My research is around trans women.
Okay.
I have a number of queer friends and a few, and trans women. We just seem to attract each other somehow. We just seem to know each other randomly.
Have you met Lana?
Yes. But okay, that was an easy
I'm
one.
so sorry. I just realised I said transsexual, not transgender. That was a little...
That's fine. Well, some people still use it for whatever reason.
Okay.
What's the difference?
So, technically, transsexual often is an older term, but still gets used by some.
I think
Practically
I got
archaic.
it.
It's old-fashioned.
Because
it's
of
dating
the...
me.
Oh, I get it. Because the sex, there's the two biological ones, the actual ones in your DNA, but they're the genders where people identify as. I'm learning.
Would I be right in saying that there's a... Like, maybe some people use the terms... they differentiate between people who have had surgery and others who haven't?
That is how, when people use the phrase transsexual, that is how they'll use it.
Yeah.
They will use it. But there are plenty of people that will have surgeries, go down the whole path, and still stay clear of the term. The language changes a lot around trans people for good reasons and bad reasons, and I think...
Do you think it'll ever settle?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably. They'll probably get a point when we kind of... I think when... How do I put this? When we're more settled.
Yeah.
So the trans community is going through a lot in many ways.
It really is.
We've never had so much for visibility.
Attention.
And attention.
Yeah.
Good and bad, because I've noticed this thing in like the US.
Can't have one without
So many
the other.
bad things happen, but Joe Biden kind of helped lately.
Hope so.
Well,
I'm really concerned about the issues. I'm really concerned about the rhetoric that gets thrown around in American political discourse.
It's bonkers.
Resonating over here.
Yeah.
And it does. I know people who have been attacked with that kind of language thrown at them.
The way they conflate issues just so casually over there, and I imagine we do the same here because I mean we often mirror them in some ways, right? We're like that annoying little cousin that just kind of hangs on at the family thing. And I do worry we can look at the US and kind of see our potential future, and then we see things happening on the streets of Melbourne and Sydney, and we're like, oh, we could have predicted this, and was there anything we could have done to prevent it? And maybe one of those things is for us all to get more political and involved and less ambivalent. Would you encourage people to get political around these issues, or is the answer maybe more couched in acceptance? Do you know what I mean? Like, rather than make a point of espousing our differences and our uniqueness, if we want to be accepted and just absorbed into society, then we have to not make noise about ourselves.
Well, I don't like the framing of either really. I think you should be political. I think everyone should be political. I think political apathy is a real problem. But there is... I also don't think we need to be as... I think we can give some more leeway for some disagreement, for accepting people who are within an acceptable range of disagreements, so to speak.
Yeah, discourse is good. Yeah.
I think that we can... I disagree with a lot of issues in the queer and trans community, respectively, on different things.
I voted no.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, what do you disagree with?
So one thing is I'm a fan of... I think that cops belong at Pride.
The what?
Cops belong at Pride.
I don't think I've heard of that. I'm sorry.
So basically, the queer community as a whole, and particularly trans women, and I assume trans men. Sorry if I'm leaving out trans men completely. I don't know enough about your experience.
You can't speak for them necessarily, and I don't think you have to. I
just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge that I'm not really speaking for them because I don't have as good an understanding. But we've got a really horrible history with the police and law enforcement.
Our co-host, Kim, is a trans man, and we miss him terribly. And if you could, maybe just
met him.
I don't know if it needs to be sultry, but can you just put out
It wasn't me.
Young lady.
I'm sorry.
Just drain this place.
I'm sorry.
Is it because I used
it was an early
jar
tinkle,
already?
you know? It was an early tinkle.
We miss you, Kim. Anyway, come back and we can have this conversation.
I'd like to meet you, Kim.
That'd be great. So, sorry, go on.
Oh, no. So, the reason I disagree, because I acknowledge everyone's argument against cops at Pride. I acknowledge the trauma. I acknowledge all the hurt, the harm, the abuse suffered to the queer community at the hands of the police force. Mm-hmm. But with all that said, I just see, if I had to talk about it as general, a world in which we ended up allowing them to march. And I think that would be a net positive for the queer community because we are on an island.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you meant not representing queer cops, but as a force to, police the event. Standing there on the sidelines going, "Oh, no one protest, don't." What, you know what I mean? That's what I thought you meant. We don't need cops or security at Pride events, but you mean having a float?
Yeah, I think they should have a float. I think that would empower the queer factions within the police and make it politically advantageous for them to at least nominally do things for the community and then to make steps. I think... I don't mind rainbow capitalism, where basically organizations are putting rainbows on everything and then still having issues internally. I want to...
You think it's too much to expect, companies to be queer positive all the time?
No, I think that we should expect it, but I think the marginal step, it's
oh, you want your cake and eat it too?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, why not? I get that. Yeah, no, I'm with it.
I want to empower it is a real complex issue, and I think that the more we empower those diversity in those organisations and make it advantageous for them to be queer friendly.
Okay, I get it.
Then the same with the police, like the more we empower them and their queer factions within it and make it politically advantageous for them to be, then they'll start having, my hope is that they'll become an ally to the queer community.
Yeah, I think I get your point.
That is
of
what
like people usually go down on them and say like, oh, you're just putting it on a rainbow and calling it a day. Yeah. So what you're trying to explain is that the fact that we do that so much is kind of getting them to just keep doing that instead of slowly but surely working up from that.
Yeah.
So in a way, we're giving them too much.
There's no reason.
It's not non-praise. We're just degrading them too much on that. And if we praise them more, they would be like, okay, yeah, we can do more than just rainbow.
How do you feel about the rainbow stripe on the rugby jerseys?
Do
you remember that whole thing?
I don't know that thing.
This is one area I am completely uninformed.
But are you not aware of that whole thing at all?
No.
Okay, so one of the... And I'm showing how little I know because I'm not big on the handling of the balls. And
handling of the balls? But I thought you were game. Sorry, I really had to.
Push you away. No, okay, so one of the, I think it was the Wallabies even, had on in the middle of that hideous maroon thing that they wear, a stripe, a rainbow stripe added.
Yeah.
And some of the guys objected to wearing it because of the rainbow edition. And they were like, nope. And then it became a whole argument, and eventually, I think they were coached, came out saying as a group, religious reasons. We're not going to wear a Pride endorsed or uniform because of religious reasons. So that's a whole argument, for religious freedom and all that sort of stuff. But I think just before we started the interview, you were saying like you wear quite a lot of rainbow. Do you do that? Like, is it?
Yeah.
Is it a symbol for you that really matters?
Yeah, I quite like. Yes, it is.
Has it always been, or have you sort of grown into it?
Yes, I've really grown into it. Well, I mean, my process. I think, the process of a lot of trans women, mine particularly, was there's a lot of finding my own fashion and learn to express yourself in different ways. And I do in many ways celebrate my queerness, and it's just a way that I can celebrate it, I guess. And then...
It's a good shortcut. It's a very quick, here I am, this is what I'm about. And it is all-encompassing. It's actually kind of the thing I think I have against it.
Okay.
I'm not against rainbows per se, right? Yep. Love the natural phenomenon, right? I'm there for that. But I've never been a real rainbow adopter.
Yep.
And I think because I don't see myself in it. I see myself swamped up by it, surrounded by everything else.
Okay.
And I guess I feel lost in its umbrella-ness. Does that kind of make sense?
It's yes. Just let me talk for a second in that I'm mostly because I want to get to... I haven't heard what you've talked about recently, but it makes sense when I hear about... there's a lot of... This happens... This is one thing I do know that happens sometimes with trans men. Is they'll go out of the very arduous on he, him pronouns, being a man, all that. And then when they hit a certain point in their transition where they find themselves passable and people are counting them as think they're just cis and straight, they will often then start describing themselves as non-binary because they're scared of losing their queer identity.
Ah.
So why I'm kind of bringing up that one is because there is a real queer culture, and there's a lot to that, and there's a part of identity of a queer person, you know. Part of my identity as a part of my identity as a person is being queer. But there's a lot of stereotypes and norms, and there is a lot of similar discourse within the queer community. And I can imagine seeing all that and feeling a bit outside of that culture because you don't identify with it. And then thus the rainbow as a symbolism of this, feeling rejected by, or feeling not comfortable within it because you don't. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. Yes, I feel from what you're saying that you understand my idiot ramblings. Okay. Yeah, no, you're very good at what you do. And then, of course, there's the question of which rainbow, which flag, because, I mean, that's gone through a whole revolution as well.
Yeah.
There's...
because there's the actual gay flag, and then there's the proper rainbow that we also call the gay flag.
Oh, there's the 1976 version, and then there's the revised version that doesn't have turquoise or whatever in it. It actually got rid of green and indigo. Is that right? Anyway, so there was the modern gay flag, and gay pride flag, and then we've gone through these wonderful revisions and kind of separations, where we've got the gay men's flag and the lesbian flag and the trans men flag and the trans women flag and the NB flag and the, intersex flag, which doesn't follow any rules, but I always include I when I'm doing doing the alphabet. I just think it's important, and I don't know why people leave it off, personally, but that's the thing. And then, so it's the same sort of question, like how do you choose? Also, do you feel a little bit slighted that you never got a chance to vote? You never got the vote. I didn't choose on the gay men's flag. I hate those colours. I hate that that's my people's flag. Yeah. Hate it. Anyway, do you like your particular colour, your scheme, the scheme that you've been given, your Pantone scheme?
Oh, I've grown to love it.
Okay.
I don't think I always did. But there was... but there's a meaning behind the flag, and I appreciate the meaning and the... so, yeah, I like it. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe it'd be nice if we all had, got together and had a big meeting where we got to decide. I could get a vote. We could have a council. It'd be great.
Yeah, just at the end of where we all decide our agenda.
The big alphabet mafia
maybe that
gallery.
will be the queer agenda. Queer agenda is to have a unified flag.
It makes so much sense that our first meeting will just be about colour scheme. That's our fault.
It's so true. It's so true.
Far out.
Maybe it should just be like a shield with Jonathan Van Ness fighting a unicorn. Yeah. Something that's...
I'm on board. You've got my vote. You have my vote. We're on board for this.
Speaking of icons.
Yeah. I never answered your question about which flag.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like I like the trans flag. I like the rainbow flag, and I'm happy with the diversity flag. Flags a lot like the labels in a way. So another side tangent because I think it's related. One thing that I think a lot of queer people can do a lot of trans women, I've seen trans women do this, where they'll realise they're trans and then start trying to look at what that means by following other people's examples.
Right.
And I knew a beautiful trans woman, loved her facial hair, but shaved it off. Because I'm not into facial hair, but she loved it. It was her thing. And she shaved it off because she thought that it wasn't feminine. And I'm not into facial hair, but you shouldn't be doing it because you think that that's what the next step is.
Yeah.
You should be doing it because that's what you want. You shouldn't be living up to your labels.
Yeah.
You should be choosing the labels that represent you.
On a journey of truth, how can you suddenly start looking at other people's lies and taking them on?
Yeah. Exactly. That's you.
And also, Conchita Wurst. Right? We have the examples there. If you're looking for them, maybe the problem is that there is still so much stigma around transitioning and being queer of any discernible, palette, that we maybe subconsciously look for reasons why we still shouldn't be that. You know what I mean? Like, even after coming out, if I looked for them, and I think I did for a long time, I could see reasons not to be obvious in public. And what is that? That's internalized homophobia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we need to solve externalized homophobia before that, or how do you? Look, solve the problems of the world. Solve the world. Would you? What do you think?
Well, I guess I've never had the luxury. Trans woman. I'm always out. There is no. I never get to hide.
Well, you did as a non-binary person.
Yeah, when I was genderqueer. Gender fluid.
Gender fluid, I'm sorry.
That's how I described myself at the time. It represented how I presented best and how I liked my... But...
What did that look like? And what was the, forgive me, transition to that? Did it start with nails? Did it start with makeup? Did it start with... How did that go?
I used to have a very well-defined... so I've always had... Like, I knew that something was wrong. Or not something was wrong.
Not wrong.
But, at the time, in the past, it was wrong. Yeah, when I was 6. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Someone said, like, when I grow up, I want to be a girl. And I'm like, wait, I've got a choice?
Yeah.
And then
you don't know until someone tells you.
Yeah.
You don't know. Like, I could have asked Tyler Cromwell to the dance, right?
Yeah.
With his little ponytail and whatever in grade 2, right? Because he dressed up as Captain Hook and I was Peter Pan, and that could have been awesome.
That would have been perfect.
But I didn't feel like it was right, so I didn't do it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's real sad.
Still like guys with ponytails.
So, I mean, to answer your question, so I knew something wrong and it would manifest in different ways. And, I would usually just sometimes I'd dress up all femme around the house for a bit, and like when I was alone, and it was a way of expressing me, it felt authentic and it felt right and it felt natural. It wasn't a lot. It was just, but there's.
Did you dance?
I'm a horrible dancer. No one wants to see that.
But you can dance if
in
you
your
want
home,
to.
alone.
You can leave your friends behind. Because if they don't dance, and then they're not friends of mine.
I don't like dancing.
I had to. I've been quiet for too long.
Jake Shear. Their first 2 albums, start to finish, absolute perfection.
Sorry, I've been quiet for too long. I had to say something.
Keep on going.
Please,
That's
make
perfect.
noise.
I don't know what to say anymore.
Also, can you find us some Scissor Sisters to play?
What?
Scissor Sisters.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
feel like dancing.
Yeah.
That'd be the That'd be
That piano. anyway.
How do I write scissors?
Nothing
Elton
makes me
John.
dance like that.
How do I write scissors?
And also, no other band in the world has a member called Baby Daddy.
What?
Which is what I get called now by a friend of my boyfriend's. He calls me Baby Daddy. I'm like,
Baby daddy? I like
no,
it.
Baby Daddy Uncle.
Baby daddy.
Baby Uncle Daddy.
What?
Baby Uncle Daddy?
What's the story behind that?
Yeah.
I
because
can't-
I
would-
call him Buddy, and he's like, well, I call you Bud. Baby Uncle Daddy. I'm like, okay, thanks.
We do not
Anyway,
have scissor
That's a
sisters?
whole identity conversation that we can have outside of this.
Yeah.
I've completely lost my train of thought.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we're just talking about being gender. Basically, for me, there was just a very clear distinction of my femme presentation and my masculine presentation.
Right.
And so it wasn't that I would be androgynous, and that it was more like I felt safe because I had a masculine identity. I'd present that. It got more androgynous as time went on, but then I'd have a very clear femme identity. I'd change my name for that, and use she, her pronouns. Well, I'd be happy to use masculine pronouns, but when I was in a male mode.
You say happy to.
I accepted them, I guess.
Yeah.
Happy is a relative term.
It's a relative
I guess.
term. Do you remember? I mean, I'm really asking a lot here, but
Yeah,
do you
let's
remember
go.
the first time you stepped outside your door presenting as femme?
Oh yes.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
I
I mean, if it's not a terrible experience and you can willing to relate, but I guess what I'm after is love is to hear like elation and freedom. And was that what you experienced? Or was it just trepidation? Like
at the end of the night, it was elation.
You did it at night?
Yeah. So what it was is, many years ago this was, and there wasn't really a space for trans people outside. It was, there was this place that did fetish parties, basically. Mm-hmm. It was the kink scene. Most vanilla kink person you ever meet. It was just a place where I felt welcome because...
The place for kink, among other things that are somewhat taboo in society, in queer culture, is really, really interesting as entry points for us. And something I'd love to cover in another topic, but surprisingly I'm finding it hard to to find guests to come on and talk about kink. But so that was...
You want them?
I'm right here.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
I'm right here.
Yeah, but...
We've already talked to you about that.
I can get you guests if you want to talk about kink. I've got some people that would be much more knowledgeable about kink than I do.
Cool. That'd be awesome. But you used it not because you were kinky at the time, but because that was just a safe place. Yeah. Which is really, really interesting. Yeah. How did it go?
Good. It was my first time ever out presenting in front of other people. So it was, I had a friend who I was out to at the time, and we had this conversation, and then he was in this bachelor point of his life, and he's like, oh yeah, I want to go to this party. And I'd been looking at this party, and I'm like, no, I was thinking of going to the same party. And so I ended up going with him to this party, but he ended up bailing pretty early on. He came back afterwards, but he doesn't do parties too well. So,
but he tried.
He tried. He tried. He came back at the end of the night, and then I was a lot more comfortable when he did.
I see.
So I spent the whole time in the corner basically thinking everybody was staring at me. And then, hindsight, I think a few of them were checking me out at the time. But at the time I just felt really out of place, I sat in my corner sipping my drink, and that was it for most of the night until the end. And my friend came back, had some other friends, also started, I think there was one or two people I started talking to on my own volition. Mm-hmm. And then I just started to relax. Everyone was treating me normal and having that social acceptance. Wow. When I realized that I just wasn't the freak in the room, then...
It's hard to be the freak in a room full of latex.
That is true, but I still felt it for a good part of the night.
I'm sure.
But yeah.
Do you remember the process of choosing what you were going to wear? Did it feel like a big debut? Did you think you were going to step out on the scene and it was going to be like, okay, this is me in that late 90s high school thing. I'm going to step into the prom and you know what I mean? How important was what you were wearing to that night?
What I wear is always usually has some level of consideration, some deep consideration involved. How did I feel about it? It wasn't that to me, I guess, in that my final reveal to the world, which I guess I had that at different points in my life now. Proper coming out parties and things like that, which has been really nice, but always really nerve-wracking. And then I've spent way too much on those dresses. This one was more just, there were certain things I had and they were pretty kink friendly. Sure. So I just had those and wore those. And so, yeah, not the level of consideration you're really looking for, I guess.
No,
no, I mean asking about, it wasn't quite that.
That's interesting. No, because I guess when you're talking about external representation, you can either focus purely on the skin, or focus on what's happening inside. And if you're already at the stage where you're focusing on what's internal rather than just outward appearance, I guess you must know that you're ready in some way, right? Were you pushing yourself beyond what you thought you were capable of at the time, or did you feel ready?
I think I was pushing myself, but I don't know if I was ever going to be... I have a habit of just leaping in my life, just being scared, paralyzed by that fear, and then going, well, I don't want to sit here paralyzed my whole life, so just do it. So I've done a lot of crazy things. Used to be a poker player, so, you know.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. I'm sure there's like a cleverer person than I could put some, make some connection between masking and blah, 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 blah. But I'm not that witty. So
probably more to do my psychology, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess so. So what was your tactic? Did you employ bluffing? Or would you
yeah, like you had to have a wide range, but most of it was just...
Had to be versatile.
A lot of it for me, I like to read people a lot, and kind of...
that's perverse in itself, isn't it?
Oh, I'm very competitive, hyper competitive. Freaking love sitting there and watching someone work out what they're thinking, work out what's in their hand, and then just outplaying them in some ridiculous, crazy ways. That gets my blood hot.
I can see.
Red hot.
I can. So do you like things like Werewolf and Among Us and?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's amazing to me because that's an alien person to me.
Yeah.
It just seizes me up.
Okay.
I can't do it. Like the most I ever think ahead about what someone else might be doing or thinking is playing chess.
Yeah.
That's the only time I'll really allow myself. And it seems safe because it's purely logical. And yes, it's competitive, but the stakes are so low unless I'm playing with my brother, in which case it is for death.
Fair.
Oh yeah, you told me about that the other day when I told you I was forced by my school to learn chess for a few years.
Yeah.
And just like, oh my God, can we play? Like, I'm gonna play.
School in Brazil, they teach chess. We should learn a thing.
No, it's not in every school. It's just one specific school that they are like, we're going to make they're extremely high achieving. They boast about themselves like, oh, all our students are going to become doctors, lawyers, they're going to be this, and that. It was a terrible school. It's the school that I told you that I was bullied at, and they called my parents saying that I was the problem.
Yes.
So she needs to change the way she acts.
Something similar. I guess so close to the end of the show, I don't really want to ask permission to open up the childhood trauma bucket. We don't need to go into that.
Yeah, we'll skip the childhood stuff.
We can skip
I'm
that.
happy to talk about it, but
okay, how about this? Do you think you would have gone into psychology had you not been queer? How much of what you are today is informed by your queer identity as opposed to the other parts of your personality that aren't informed by that?
I don't know, because I think that we like to simplify people. We like to simplify ourselves. We like to find thorough lines to things. It's one of the things like we talk about whether or not how much environmental influence is involved with being queer overall. So even just being queer itself, we know that there's some biological influence, but we certainly haven't found evidence for complete biological influence. So
I mean, elephants, dolphins, and penguins lends some weight to the argument, but it's not complete. Yeah,
and I think I think we exist as complex spectrums and complex systems, and so to ask, what part of me is informed because I'm queer and what parts are not?
You're right. The separation it's ridiculous. I don't know what I was thinking.
No, that's okay. It's a normal thought. I just because I talk about like this in psychology a lot too. When people talk about things, I've dealt with a lot of people with a lot of complex issues, and I found that if you find out what's going on for them at the time, most of them there, and you start managing the severe symptoms, and like a lot of gender queer or non-conforming people who are processing that along with a lot of other mental health issues. If you start addressing that, this is my biggest amount of experience, but I'm sure it applies with a lot of range of things, then they manage to have the emotional and psychological resources to be able to deal with the other ones in more manageable and adaptive ways, rather than you can have someone who's just completely this was when I was a support worker. I had this one client who I think I'm safe to talk about this. They had autism, anxiety, depression, all this. A lot of behavioural issues are underage.
Yeah.
The gender issues. And then I never had any problems with him. And I found the more that you kind of manage his gender dysphoria, then it didn't cure him of autism. It didn't cure him of ADHD. It didn't cure him of any of these things. He just had more emotional facilities to be able to manage them in adaptive ways. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that, autism is maladaptive in nature or anything, but there are some symptoms with some of the more severe cases that, we sometimes need to manage some behavioural issues around them. So that's... I can't remember why I got on that. Basically, humans are complex systems.
Yes.
And I think it's impossible to take one aspect out and attribute something else to that.
You're right.
Big matrix of things that influence it.
So being that we are all completely unique, and our experiences of gender and diversity are infinitesimally unique. Do you think the alphabet is it enough, and can it go too far? Personally, I foresee a future where it becomes anathema, right? Because we all just realize that we are our own letter in the alphabet. And trying to fit into those pigeonholes, those boxes that are comfortable for us and especially for other people to put us in, just kind of doesn't work in the structure that society's going to. What do you think about the alphabet?
I think you're right. I think you're completely right in that. That's why I like the term queer, and I think these are one of the things that I least attribute to the trans community and gender non-conforming community the most, because of we open up a whole barrel of worms in a lot of ways. So at some point, it's just easier to acknowledge that none of this is straightforward. We're just queer. I like that label, but because it's very... I also like the term lesbian because it best describes my life, and I like feeding into some stereotypes occasionally. U-Haul. Yes.
Moving in after 2 weeks?
Oh, yes. Close. I just moved in with my girlfriends.
Did you?
4 months.
Congratulations.
So.
Wow. Yeah, way to be a stereotype.
Right. Well, we knew pretty early on that this was
That's cool.
going to last. So I think we were officially dating after like a couple of weeks, and then which is very unlike me, kind of. I had intense relationships in the past, but this has just been something else.
Volcanic. Voltaic. That's a good word. Anyway, this has been fabulous. I've really, really gotten my jollies out of getting to know you today. Lillian-Paige Turner. Sorry, I just nearly forgot your name.
That's all good.
Just because I've just been so overwhelmed by the way that you are able to construct, your views. It is so cogent. And it's refreshing, it really... And I feel safe. I feel safe to spout all my nonsense at you and all my ill-thought thoughts.
Is the psychology.
It's so good. And I think anyone in the future that's lucky to have you as a therapist will just blossom under your rays of sunshine.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Could we set up a therapy thing with you and me? I pay you in snacks. You just... Tell me what's wrong with me. I already kind of know. I just need confirmation, just like, well,
Can you get a referral?
I'm going to take it since we're like 2 minutes ending. I'm going to tinkle. Just say like, bitch, you're crazy. You're fucked up.
Isn't that annoying? That must be day one. You're not allowed to say what you think. Isn't that true? Right? You
that's
can't
what I
speak this
want,
truth.
to be honest.
There is no tea in the therapist's room.
There really is funny. There is, because the rules of psychology, like we have some, but there was a very famous therapist, I think Carl Rogers who did it actually, but he's not the only one who did it, who at some point would just like, he's famous for talking about how he just told a client that he's boring.
My psychiatrist has done that.
Really?
Yeah. But I've known him longer than anyone on the planet.
To be honest, that's what I would want. Go to the psychologist.
You want honesty.
Tell me what's wrong with me. Tell me what I
Give
need
me
to
the
know.
answers.
I know, that's what I want.
Don't make me do the work.
I know.
Tell me what to do. That's a life coach, honey.
I'm constantly confused about everything in myself.
It's not what.
Fix my mental health. Fix my anxiety disorder.
On-air therapy would be great.
I would love to do that. My boyfriend is looking at doing on-air hypnotherapy.
Hypnotherapy.
Yeah, we really want to try and
You
do
are
that.
a chicken. Bark, 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 bark.
How dare you? He's listening, by the way.
Thank you.
He's going to garrote you.
Look, it's hypnosis. That's the first thing I think. You're going to be a chicken for
just
a
on
day.
our way out, give our listeners one little nugget of wisdom from that beautiful head of hair of yours.
Nuggets.
Who does your hair?
Misfits.
Nice.
Best hair studio. I missed my last appointment, mostly because my cat has used up all my money in vet bills. That's a long
My
story,
cat
though.
bought too much. What's the catnip?
Cat borrowed.
But Misfits in Perth. Fantastic, love them. Wisdom.
Wisdom.
If I had any wisdom.
Regarding mental health.
Yeah, the importance of community. Okay. We can focus a lot on the individual, a lot of navel gazing, a lot of the time we can be trying to point people towards professional services and get into therapy, getting that help. What's really important for a lot of people, I think first and foremost, is finding places that they feel comfortable. And other people, no matter how messed up you are, no matter how unique or individual you are, there's going to be group and people out there that, where you'll find your people.
Tribe, right?
Yeah, you find your tribe. You trust me, you need it. We're not islands. We're not completely individual. There's importance to understanding the individual, but we're social creatures.
We have to remember what connects us as well. Yeah.
What you actually giving wisdom and advice? I was ready for you to say, get your shit together. Look, we're in the last minutes.
That's fine.
She took all my tingles.
If we roll over if we roll over into the next show's time slot, does the tinkle reset?
It's reset it now. It's 9:01.
Which we can do because unfortunately
Phantom is not here.
The Phantom is not here. He's watching his daughter get married or something.
He's in Melbourne. Hi, Phantom.
No, but there are amazing photos of him and his little son Alfie. Little Alfie was on his first plane.
Ooh.
Look at my voice. Look what it's doing to my voice.
Oh my God.
It was adorable. Anyway, Lily, thank you for joining us here on Tea Time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Can I shake your hand?
Yes, please.
Yay!
I got a hug from her. First thing I got was a hug. I feel honoured. And to be honest, Gander? The pants.
Oh, yeah. They were from Off Your Tree.
Oh, really? The Gander has like similar ones. I had like a brain and thing. I need to stop the recording now, don't I? We need to say bye. This is Tea Time. Thank you for listening. It's Ali, Georgia.
You forgot your name, didn't you?
I forgot to say my name first. I know my name. I was going to say it in the Portuguese way. Well, you still need to say bye. Say bye before you have to run and catch your
Good night,
your
everybody.
raid.
Catch us next week here
Goodbye.
on Tea Time on IPL Radio, and check out the other shows that we have available on our website, iplradio.org.au. Go to all our socials, and support our sponsors and come to the quiz night on Saturday. See you there.